Alright, this week we're going to go back to my youth and tie a Charles Meck pattern. Charlie was a Pennsylvania guy. This is his Patriot. When I was a kid, I was working in a fly shop and Charlie came by. He was doing a book signing, and I'm fairly certain I wasn't even driving at this point. You know, I was just kind of more or less hanging out in the fly shop doing a couple of things here and there, but they just let me hang out and learn some stuff. But Charlie was there. He was doing a book signing, and I thought it was cool as hell, you know, and that's when I learned about this pattern, Patriot. And I looked at it and I was like, man, that's awesome, you know. And I went home and I tied a bunch of them, and he used them as like an indicator, and then he'd drop a nymph below it, and you get a pile of eats on these bucket fish down in the smaller streams and creeks and everything that I was fishing as a kid. And, you know, I mean, it was exciting and fun to fish. But come to find out as I got older, Charlie didn't have the best name. A lot of people gave him a lot of hell for this pattern and really didn't like it at all. But you talk to my buddy Al down there on the Spruce Creek Outfitters on the Little J. You mentioned this pattern, he goes full Tourette's. It's pretty comical, actually. But don't tell him that I'm doing this pattern. If anyone's down there and talks to him, don't be like, hey Josh, you'll never believe what he tied. He'll throw something at me next time I come in the shop. But sorry, Al. We're going to do this one more so for nostalgia purposes than anything. A little trip down memory lane this week. So this is Charles Meck's Patriot. To start out on this one, it's a Daiichi 1110 size 12. And I'm going to start with some red thread here. And I'm going to take my thread back right at the point of my hook. Don't go getting back to where your hook starts making this bend right here. You go throwing your body material in there, I don't care how much glue you use, eventually it's just going to slide back and unravel on you. So leave yourself a little bit of space, stay tying on a flat surface of the hook. I'm going to take some brown fibers. This is off of an old Metz grade 2 Hackle. I don't know, probably a dozen fibers, somewhere about that. And I'm going to measure this out slightly longer than the length of the hook and get this tied in, keeping it right at the point, and just run this up through here using that for bulk, or using that for your taper, not really bulk. I'm stuck in streamer world. Leave that right at the point of your hook. Like I said, don't go getting any further forward. And then we're going to take some calf body hair and use this for our wings. This pattern is, well, not essentially, it is a knockoff of a Royal Wulff. You know, instead of the peacock, Charlie just substituted some blue Krystal flash. That's why I got the name the Patriot, in the red, white, and blue color and everything. But a lot of people gave him a lot of, what's a nice word here, a lot of grief for this pattern, I guess. I'm going to take that body hair, I'm just going to stack it in my stacker real quick. Everything's nice and clean. I'm going to transfer this over actually because it's a little tough to grab, and transfer on these shorter fibers. And measure this out just slightly longer than the overall length of my hook, and I'm going to get a few secure wraps in here. Work that back just slightly, and then I didn't let go with my left hand. Do this with any of your non-compressible fibers that you're tying in for wings, and just cut this at a slight angle on the way back. This will help with your taper on your mayfly bodies. This obviously isn't a mayfly, it's in the mayfly style with, you know, the typical upright and divided wings and a hackle and your body. So you can see we got a nice little taper working right here. There we go. Nice little taper right through there. I mean, nice clean body. Everything's going to be nice and neat. Stand that up real quick, give it a quick look. We're going to have plenty of room to get our hackle in the front there. And all I'm going to do now is take a piece of blue Krystal flash. This is Smolt blue. And I'm going to tie this in. And I'm going to work this in thirds, just like you would a Royal Wulff, Royal Coachman, whatever it is on the body. Work my thread up through here. Before I start wrapping this material, just going to throw a quick touch of zap on here. One, it protects the material so a tooth gets in there, it doesn't obliterate it. And two, it helps your first couple of wraps stay secure. And even though we're not tying on the bend of the hook, this stuff is pretty slick, and it'll have a tendency to walk on you if you don't glue it. So throw a little bit of zap on there and it'll help out for a couple. It'll help out the durability. All I'm doing is just wrapping this blue Krystal flash around. And like I said, I'm going to work this in thirds. 1/3 is going to be this butt end. I had one get a little squirrely on me there. Just make some nice even wraps, working your way up to the middle section. Go ahead and tie this off. And I'll bring this up to the side. I'm going to work my red section in here with my thread. There we go. Get a couple extra wraps. If you want to, it'll make it a little bit easier and you won't have to do this overhand little method that I'm doing right now. You can go ahead and cut that flashaboo off and just tie it in, but I'm just going to work it this way. And it's about the same either way you decide to do it. I'm going to take just a little bit more glue here and touch that back end up and get that middle section of thread cleaned up and secured. And then just like the Coachman or the Wulff, we're going to work on the second half of this body. Just working this through here, making a nice clean third section. It would have been quicker to use the rotary function, but we'll do this old school. Go ahead and secure your Krystal flash. And I'm going to whip finish here and then change over to my brown thread. Hopefully that holds long enough. Change over to the brown. Then I'm going to stand up my wings. I'm going to get a little dam of thread here right in the front. Make sure I'm not gluing my fingers to the hook at all. I left my contacts in because wasn't really thinking ahead. I wasn't really planning on doing this pattern, but it just popped into my head and I was like, yeah, I'll run this one, do a quick video on this one. And I was doing streamers beforehand. I can get away with keeping my contacts in, or having my glasses on, whatever it may be, when I'm doing the bigger bugs. But man, I go into this small stuff and everything is just a complete blur right now. So if this thing winds up looking like I tied it with my feet, you'll understand why. Okay, a little bit sparse on the wings here, but it's not really going to be a deal breaker. Before I go in and tie my hackle, I'm going to upright and divide these. We already got them upright. take half of the fibers on one side, run your figure 8 through here. One and two. There we go. I'm going to get rid of a few of these stragglers as long as I don't miss and cut my thread, because I can't see, we'll be in good shape. Get rid of a few of the stragglers, just kind of clean this thing up a little bit. And then, oh, let me see here, I need some dubbing. Of course I'm not prepared. This will work. This is like a tannish brown. Oh, it says brown. Looks more tan to me, but it'll work. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to tie in my hackle here. When I do these Catskill style, so to speak, you know, the upright and divided mayflies or wolves, whatever it may be, I always undersize my hackle. So I mean, I'm tying on a size 12, so this is most likely a 16. Probably a 14 would be about the biggest that I would go with it. And I'll get that tied in, catch it on the opposite side here, that way my hackle's nice and secure. Stand that up, everything's going to be good. And then I always dub through the body. Beat up the thumb there. Always dub through the body on these. One, it fills it out, and two, you can kind of make your, well, not kind of, you can reduce this drop that you have from your thread wraps and tying in your wings to what you have on the opposite side, because there is no material there. You can reduce that drop and your hackle will cooperate for you a lot more. I just add a little bit more dubbing on the front side of my wings, and then that'll allow your hackle to be more even and not have a tendency to slide down that slope. So we still have good upright and divided wings there. I'm going to take my hackle now, and like I said, this is probably a 16. I'm not certain. I don't own a hackle gauge. I have never used one. I just kind of eyeball it and look at it and be like, yep, that works. Even as a kid, never used one. We're just going to make a couple of wraps. I got 2 in the back. I'm going to try and squeeze 3 in the front, as long as it's going to stay clean, and I think it will. There we go. Everything's looking good. Still have a nice clean eye, no fibers or anything in the way. And before I trim that, I'm going to go ahead and whip finish, because I'll wind up cutting something and it'll unravel the whole dang fly. There, use a tool on that first one. Now that I know I'm in the clear, I can cut this hackle. Get that out of the way. Now I'll just add a couple more wraps. Probably a 4-turn whip finish, build that head up a little bit. And we are good to go. Check the monitor, make sure that I don't have anything too funky going on there. I got one little piece right there. Yeah, I cleaned it up all right. But there you have it. There is Charlie Meck's Patriot. Like I said, when I was a kid, I thought this was one of the coolest patterns out there. I don't know why. I mean, you know, probably just because I was able to see it firsthand. That was really my first time ever meeting anybody, you know, in the fishing industry or the, you know, the fly fishing and tying industry. But you know, as you get older and learn more things, you know, a lot of things change, and what you thought was really cool back in the day, come to find out, just kind of missed the mark. But if you guys have any questions or comments on this one, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.